everybody. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending today's SMB training. Okay, so as always, it is a pleasure and delight to be able to do another session. So this will be our last Zoom session for the year. Okay, so it's great to have everyone on board with us. And today we are also going to do a part two continuation of our anti-aging series. Okay, so I can say that by far with so many topics that we have done, the anti-aging series, we can say that it's one of the, actually all of them are good, but this is just one of those I would think is very interesting. Okay, so you're up for a treat today as we bring a close, and of course, we will try to do a correlation between part one and part two so that you'll be able to have a very comprehensive understanding about how sugar actually triggers and causes aging problems. Okay, not just from sugar level, but also at the cellular level. All right, so without further ado, let's go right into it. Okay, all right. So part two, glycation and inflammation. So the first topic that we spoke about last week, we saw in detail how sugar and what does glycation does in our body, from the skin all the way to different organs. So today we'll relate glycation to inflammation. All right. So why I want to talk about inflammation is because I also think it's one of those things that people don't have a very clear understanding about. We all know it's bad, right? But it's a very generic term that's being thrown around in the conversations, but we don't exactly understand the impact of inflammation to our body, right? And especially in this topic, which is aging. Okay, so today we are going to be exploring a different dimension of aging. So how can we differentiate between normal and unusual aging? And how do we define healthy aging? And where do we draw the line? Okay, so this is what we will be discovering today. So in our body, all right, simultaneously, there are two things happening. There will always be cell damage that's happening at one time. And at the same time, there will also be cell renewal. So it's not something that happens, cell damage, then cell renewal. No. So we have many cells in the body. So some parts of it will damage and some of it will renew. So that is what is happening in our body at any given time. All right. So cell damage, okay. So both of these aspects are just as important when we look into the aspect of aging. So of course, when it comes to aging, right, cell damage is a very important factor. So what causes our cell to damage? Now, there are a few things that cause it, but a lot of it has to do with our genes. So number one is our DNA becomes less stable, all right? Over time, of course, there is damage and our cells just get older and our genes will start to mutate. Okay, some of the coding just don't really jive that well. It gets unstable and there will also be mutated proteins that will be surrounding our genes. And this damaged DNA will then accumulate over the years. So we can say that with aging, there are more defected proteins and DNA in our body that causes cell damage. So at the same time, when it comes to cell renewal, this process also slows down. So DNA repair slow down, and there's this thing called stem cell absorption, okay, which I find it very interesting. Okay, because there's a lot of talk about stem cell, and I think that when I read this, I was like, oh, so what does it mean? Does it mean that our stem cell actually get tired? All right, that's why we cannot, our cells cannot get younger. So what does this mean? So both of these, as we see the balance get tilted, this is where aging, disease, and degeneration happens. So this is where, the bad part of aging starts to come into the picture. Okay, so what on earth is stem cell, right? Before we talk about that phrase, really, you need to understand what it is. Okay, so stem cell is this very unique kind of cell, all right, that is in our body. And there are different kinds of stem cell in different parts of our body. So for example, there is a stem cell in our face, and there's stem cell in our liver, there's stem cell in our muscle. So there is a different stem cell in different parts of our body. Okay, so this is an example how it works. We talk about blood. So our blood also needs stem cell. Okay, it also comes from stem cell. So now our red blood cell, it lasts for about 2 months, okay, 120 days. And white blood cell, okay, as you can see, there are many here, right? Their lifespan is shorter, but some of them can go up to months, depending on what kind of white blood cell there's there. All right. So it can be a few hours or months. Okay, but the problem is this. So this is why stem cell is very important. Because our red blood cell and white blood cell, they cannot regenerate on their own, They cannot like, okay, once the red blood cell is dead, right? It's dead everyone. Okay, so if there's no stem cell, it's a very dangerous thing. Why? Because there will not be enough red blood cell in production. So our stem cell is one of the major master cell that ensures that we always have other cells that can make our body in a survival mode. All right. So this is an illustration. So this is a blood stem cell. Okay, it's an empty template. So what makes stem cell different from other cells is that it can differentiate into different cells. So red blood cell don't come from red blood cell anymore. Right? We always thought that red blood cell come from red blood cell, but actually no, it comes from blood stem cell. So your blood stem cell can become lymphoid, which become your white blood cell, or the other one, which becomes your platelet or red blood cell. So that's why when it comes to certain cancers, like I think you've heard about the lymphoma, leukemia, where they have cancer of the blood. Okay, so that's when they give you this stem cell therapy. They will try to get a bone marrow because stem cells of blood come from bone marrow, right? So they'll try to find the match of the bone marrow, and from there, that's where all the blood stem cell is. So then that's how they can start to produce even more red blood cell. Because those with blood cancer, especially for leukemia, they cannot produce red blood cell already. All right, so this is why stem cell is so important because our other cells cannot regenerate on its own. All right, so there are different types of stem cell in our body. So adult stem cells, as you can see, they exist in all these different parts of our body. But the thing about this is that they are quite specialized. So the stem cell in your heart, for example, cannot produce a blood cell, right? Or a stem cell in your skin cannot become a stem cell, cannot be another cell in your kidney. So it's very specialized in its specific areas, right? And this is why stem cell is so valuable. Okay. So it's not just only an anti-aging term. We know it's been thrown around a lot and people talk about it a lot, right? But it's actually crucial for survival. And without stem cells, your wounds would never heal. Your skin and blood could not constantly renew itself. So without stem cells, basically, we are not in this world anymore. Okay? So stem cells is actually an internal repair system that replaces cells that are lost through normal wear and tear, injury, or disease. So we all have stem cell one, right? Just that, of course, stem cell numbers will decline with age. And this is where people are in this whole, wellness space, where people want to mitigate through disease, they try to harvest their own stem cell. So maybe when, for example, when they're younger, like below 40s, those are rich lah. And maybe those who are older, they will try to extract stem cell from a specific part of their body and they'll store it somewhere. So one day when their organs would dysfunction, for example, if there's knee issues or kidney failure, they try to use the stem cell to regenerate that, degenerated kidney. So right now, there are actually treatments that does all this. Is usually very expensive, but it does work. Okay, it's still an area of research, but there are certain organs that are now treatment that are being done. So it is really an area of interest that people are looking into harvesting their own stem cell, right? So this is more of like what's happening right now in the wellness space, right? Okay. So of course, we need to understand a bit more about how stem cells behave as we age. Then how can we take care of this or increase the numbers in our body? Right? So stem cell decline with age. Over time, the number and function. So not just only the number decreases, but the function of stem cell will decline. Right? And our DNA damage accumulates. So stem cells are susceptible to DNA damage as we age, and this damage accumulates, leading to mutation. So even our stem cells are also susceptible to mutation. So once it mutates, then we cannot regenerate that well. All right. So that also explains why wound healing don't happen so well for aging population. Okay, so stem cell exhaustion means that accumulation of DNA damage and mutation, the remaining stem cells are less effective and it's fewer in number. So this is a legit reason. Okay, there are many hallmarks of aging. So now research say that a person aged is also due to stem cell exhaustion. Means when a person's stem cell is lesser, this contributes to a much accelerated aging. All right, so this is now considered an aging factor already. So once this is happening, our tissue repair is compromised. The body struggles to replace dead or damaged cell. So this is a problem. Once you cannot, restore it over time, it can result in conditions like muscle atrophy, where it shrinks, muscle gets shrink, and you can see like those elderly, they start to hunch and things like that. Osteoarthritis, organ dysfunction, diseases, cancer, etc. All right. So this is an area of aging that I feel is not being talked about, but it's a very important factor that contributes to a decline of our health over time. So the thing is this, all right? What is the main driver of aging here? Okay, as you can see, there's a lot of common words here, right? The words that's most often used here is DNA damage. Okay, so DNA damage is a major reason of aging. Okay, it even leads to our stem cell distortion. So DNA won't just damage like that. Okay, one fine day you wake up, then your DNA number, DNA just spoil on its own. There must be a driving force. There must be a factor that causes our DNA to break down. Okay, there must be something that's happening. So what drives this is what we call inflammation. Okay, it's just a reaction that happens in our body that just steers the whole environment to be haywire, that make our body think that we're constantly under attack. Okay? Right. So now when we look into this word inflammation, right, it's a very generic term. Okay, and sometimes people think that this is intangible. Okay, we cannot really feel the effects of inflammation. But inflammation is basically how our body is already haywire. Okay, it causes our body to react in ways that is not very normal. So a lot of companies, right, when you look into different kind of anti-aging treatments, okay, these are some of the very famous ones like, okay, this is vitamin D. All right, vitamin D is a very in thing right now. Even supplements or cold plunge, okay, all these are very trendy things that we are seeing happening in the wellness space right now when we talk about anti-aging. All right, so all these things, right, I can tell you it all, okay, bottom line, it all targets on this thing called as inflammation, right, antioxidant. This is actually a very basic thing, but they are actually using this whole concept of inflammation into all these businesses. But end of the day, it's actually very simple. It's basically just antioxidant. All right, look at this vitamin drip. The vitamin drip, they are on high dose of vitamin C, like 60 times more than what is required. But they have this belief that it can help to lower inflammation. So people have this concept, and scientifically, there's also some science behind it, that with antioxidants, it can help to reduce inflammation, correct? And with reducing inflammation, you can reduce aging. And look at supplements also, like all the very, like high-tech, so-called high-tech supplements, right? Actually, if you look at the ingredient, a lot of it is sure antioxidant one. And the main thing they want to target is what? Inflammation. They want to target that. So as much money you spend on whatever treatment, the whole bottom line about tackling anti-aging or stem cell or DNA damage for that matter is really managing inflammation. Okay? So that's the whole point behind this thing. Right? So aging will lead to inflammation. Okay, will lead to all these things that will happen over time. All right, that our different organs will start to degenerate, they become weaker, all right, things like that. So we know that, okay, glycation, which is what we learned last week, okay, when sugar comes into the picture, this makes things even worse. Okay, because we are already battling with a very big problem of inflammation already. Okay, it's already a huge thing that we cannot control. Now, if you throw sugar into the mix, it actually speeds up aging 10 to 20 years faster. All right, so this will speed up a lot faster. So glycation, okay, just to give a bit of a revision for those who were not here last week. Okay, so glycation is basically sugar and the combination of sugar and protein in our body. So this will lead to what we call glycation. Basically, more sugar will bind to protein. So once you put sugar into the mix, all right, it's going to make things a lot worse for inflammation. Okay. So now when this happens, okay, it will further decrease our stem cell count and impair our stem cell function. Right? So inflammation is a huge driver of aging. And once we put in sugar, it will further distort our normal stem cell count and it will further impair our stem cell function. So this is the reason why you see those who have high sugar, there's a lot of problems when it comes to their health, to their organs, wound recovery, things like that. It has something to do with their dysfunctional stem cell really. So that their body, their organs just cannot respond so well as like a normal organ would. All right. So this is why we have to take good care of our sugar. Right? Inflammation, of course, there are things that we can do also to reduce that. But if you don't target the most important thing, which is sugar, right? Your inflammation problem will not be solved. Right? That's the bottom line. Because we cannot really eliminate inflammation completely. All right, this is not possible. But the main thing that drives it even more is actually sugar. So we have to do something to target the sugar so that it doesn't make inflammation worse and further drive our aging problem. Okay, that causes many different parts of our body to compromise and age, and and that's where we fall sick, right? Okay, so this is what you want to do today is to target the most important part, which is to target the sugar first. Once we target the sugar problem, then we can think of ways to further reduce inflammation. And from there, we can improve and to see signs of improvement in our aging process. Okay, so this is what we want to do today. Okay, so in European population, we can see that, okay, their sugar problem is not as serious as well as Asian. Okay, Asian has a much bigger sugar problem compared to a European counterpart, even though that, we are in this part. And just so you know, I saw the recent statistics. Malaysia is number one in diabetes in the whole Western Pacific area. So Western Pacific is not just Southeast Asia. It includes China, it includes Papua New Guinea, it includes New Zealand, okay, all these other regions. So we are still number one. So we are not just only in Southeast Asia, okay, we are actually big in Asia. Oh, China, we are also more than China, by the way. Okay, our Malaysia population in diabetes is actually very, very serious, right? So it's a very alarming problem. And insulin, when you have high insulin, it will cause insulin resistance, but when you have high sugar, it causes glycation. So this is also a bad thing now, all right? Not just only we have to manage insulin resistance, but we also have to target glycation as well. Okay, so what can we do to effectively manage both of these areas so that it does not worsen our aging process? So this is where feel great comes into the picture. All right. So this is where many anti-aging approach, I wouldn't say they are wrong, but they miss the mark. Okay, many people are willing to spend a lot of money on when you just tell them to invest in one supplement or the next trendy thing that comes along, then they just go with it. But after using it for some time, they will realize that it's not really working. So why is that? It's because they really miss the mark, okay, when it comes to addressing aging problems. So of course, there's inflammation. Okay, many people, they just address the inflammation problem, but they don't look at the sugar part because it is maybe too basic for them. All right, it's something that, oh, okay, sugar is not important, but I will spend like $1,000 for the most expensive or the most advanced anti-aging supplement out there. Okay, but they completely neglect the importance of sugar, which is the root cause of aging really, and it's the main driver of inflammation. Okay, so we have to look into targeting this first, then we will see improvement in lowering inflammation and solving aging. Okay, so the first thing we need to look into is, of course, they get the order wrong. So we have to rearrange the order and we have to look into sugar first. Okay, so we look into sugar. Once we look into sugar, then we look into ways to reduce our inflammation and what we can do to increase our natural stem cell count. Right, there's actually things that we can do to increase our stem cell count. All right, but of course, we're not talking about like, suddenly how many times, because no matter what, it's still diet. And actually, using the feel great method, all right, and with some of the ingredients, it can in some way increase that and increase the function of stem cell count as well. All right, and from all this that we talk about, how we can then effectively manage the root cause of aging. right? So we're going to look into these three things today. So it's still the same thing, all right? You still feel good. So these are some of the things that we spoke about last week, but it's still in correlation with our topic today. So the first part, we have to make sure that we have to cut off the effect of sugar as much as we can. So we have to prevent sugar from combining with protein. This is the most important step that we have to do. Then after that, we have to think of ways of how we can further lower inflammation, remove whatever toxic sugar, and of course, think of ways that we can actually boost our stem cell count. All right. Now, this is the problem, okay? Not just only Malaysia, but we in general, we just love to eat and eat a lot of high carb food, right? So this caused a lot of changes in our diet, in our insulin, our sugar just keep going up and down. So this is the problem of glycation, right? That's happening all the time throughout our day because we're constantly eating. And this leads to increased risk of all kinds of terminal illnesses like heart disease, cancer, dementia, and so on and so forth. Okay. So we have to prevent sugar and protein from combining because blood sugar control is the most important factor in preventing glycation so that things don't combine, all right, and we can cut off the first layer of aging problem. To make sure that your sugar don't spike all the time. Okay, this is important to make sure that it stays regular and it doesn't spike all the time. Okay. Now this is where a bit of protection, okay, goes a long way. Because most of our food we don't have any shield, and if we don't, okay, from the food that we eat, right, if we don't do anything about it, sugar absorbs very quickly and it will absorb fast in our body. All right, this is when insulin spikes happen. But just by taking fiber, all right, not just any simple kind of fiber, but a good quality fiber, you can already experience a decrease in your blood sugar as much as 20%. So this can already do half of the job for you to reduce that absorption of sugar into your body, and you cut off half of that glycation that's happening post-meal. So glycation is the most vulnerable after we eat the meat. So if you don't eat any bioslide fats, if you don't have any fiber, it's 100% absorption of sugar into your body, 100%. So imagine what does this do to our inflammation even more, right? So with sugar, okay, with this, is able to reduce our sugar a lot more drastically. Okay, so this is how it will be lowered, okay, by just taking a sachet of bioslide fat. Okay, so when we take this, it's able to reduce our blood glucose effectively post-meal. It reduces sugar spike, and it also reduces glycation. And once we can reduce that glycation, naturally inflammation will also be reduced in our body. Okay, because sugar increases inflammation up to double in our body. So if we can cut off that, especially after meal, we are already reducing half of the inflammation that's happening in our body. Okay, so next we need to talk about inflammation. Okay, so we talk a lot about sugar already, man. The main problem is really from food. So what can we do to actually reduce this inflammation that's happening in our body, right? So this is the important part. Now, short-term inflammation is not really a problem because this happens to all of us, all right? For example, if you have a cut in your hand, all right, but if there's no inflammation, it's dangerous, okay? It will not signal any healing to happen. But it's a problem when there's constant inflammation because this causes a lot of degeneration to happen. So this is where long-term inflammation can cause damage to your body, such as your normal will become osteoarthritis. So this is how long-term or chronic inflammation happens where it damages your body organ generally. So how can we stop this from happening? Okay, so in our body, right, these are the things that's always happening. Okay, normal metabolism, immune function. So all these things will produce this thing called ROS. It's a bit scientific, all right, but in short, it's basically stress, oxidative stress, and this is what we call inflammation. All right, for most of us as science, we know that okay, when there's inflammation, there's some kind of stress into your body. So this will lead to DNA damage, which we spoke about just now, impaired cell signaling, inflammation, okay, and cell death. So all this is how inflammation will affect our body and causes our body to have pain, and all these kind of problems. So when this, okay, so it's actually a very unstable molecule when there's oxidative stress, okay, with this inflammation. Okay, it's actually a very unstable molecule. So once we have antioxidant, and why many aging companies, or when we talk about aging, we need antioxidant, is because it has a role to balance out uh, all these stress. Okay, because all these ROS, right, they will disrupt our normal cell system. So the more antioxidants that we have in our body can neutralize the effect of all these things that can reduce inflammation in our body. Okay, so this is an example of how it works. All right, so this is LDL. All right, you know LDL, right? So LDL actually also will go through oxidation. So this is a part of where inflammation happens also, where once it gets oxidized, all right, you can see a plaque formation here. And this is where we have arteriosclerosis happening. And this is actually a process of how inflammation drives disease in our body. So one of them is, this, okay, that's currently happening in our body. So this is the danger of inflammation. Okay, another perspective of science of how it drives diseases in our body. Okay, so chlorogenic acid is actually a really good, potent antioxidant. Apart from its function that is able to increase GLP-1, all those amazing things, but it has chlorogenic acid and other components that's very powerful in terms of lowering the inflammation that's happening in our body. Okay, it's able to bind to ROS, okay, all these unstable molecules in our body, and it's able to bind them and to make those molecules stable so it doesn't harm our body any further. And through this, it's able to reduce the entire effect of inflammation in the body. So the chlorogenic acids in our body can block inflammation from happening in our body. Right? So it also has some anti-aging benefits such as sugar control, okay, able to make our body more sensitive to the effect of insulin, is able to enhance our mitochondria, which is our cellular engine, so that our skin or our cells have more energy, and this leads to a younger and healthier cell. And it's also able to enhance the detoxification function in our body, which is, our body can actually detox on its own, so it helps in that sense. All right, if we can detox better, it means that our body is able to remove all these waste even more effectively. And last but not least, it's able to inhibit inflammation, okay, which is very important, okay, in this whole area of anti-aging. So Unimate is able to give that protective component into reducing the inflammation and increase the vitality of our body cells. All right. So of course we have spoke at length on GLP-1 last week. Okay, so today I won't talk about it so much, but still it's a very important point because it does help significantly in processing sugar and insulin levels, as you know, are very important factors in in this whole area of aging. So with GLPs once help to be able to significantly bring down sugar, is also well established as a very important regulator. Okay, so that it not just only helps to reduce our inflammation, it also helps to regulate our sugar and insulin levels. Okay, so this component, all right, Unimate help to further block or reduce glycation and also inflammation and oxidative stress. Right, so Unimate is able to achieve all of these things for us to not just only reduce inflammation, but also help to increase our natural GLP-1 level. Right? So this is our own in-house study where we can see, all right, that yerba mate can increase up to double of that natural GLP-1 levels in our body. Right? You can see how it further increase taking Unimate. So the more Unimate that we take, we are increasing even more GLP-1 in our body. So this further helps to regulate and to manage the sugar and insulin levels in our body. Okay, in comparing about what we have, we are not just any other beverage out there, right? Because there are a lot that claim to give a lot of health benefits. Okay, this is where Unimate stands far above our competitors, where we have a lot more chlorogenic acid levels compared to other caffeinated beverages. So this is where when you take Unimate, you are taking a lot more higher quality components and concentrated, GLP-1 in your body. All right. So with the combination of feel great and fasting, it can help to overall reduce the problem of sugar and help us to manage the inflammation that's happening in our body. All right. So fasting helps to reduce inflammation as well. Okay, fasting is actually a very important part as well. When you look into it, it's a 16-8, right? So fasting can help to reduce oxidative stress by boosting our natural antioxidative production. Can reduce the number of free radicals, and this helps to lower our overall inflammation. So fasting activates autophagy, okay, which is a process which the body cleans out the damaged cell, including those that are overloaded with oxidative damage. So by removing this damage or inefficient part, okay, autophagy helps to rejuvenate the cell, essentially allowing it to function more optimally. So fasting helps to remove all this. Okay, not just only that, it helps to boost our body's natural antioxidative production. So I think that's good. Okay, our own body can produce its own antioxidants. So this helps to really boost that a lot. Okay, it's also our body's way of turning the clock back and create even younger cells and help to regenerate newer and healthier cells. And it's also essential for stabilizing our glucose and insulin levels. So with the combination of chlorogenic acid, Bioslife S, and with fasting together, this combination can help to increase our stem cell count. Yeah. Studies that do show that with chlorogenic acid and with fiber, antioxidants, all these things can help to increase and to protect our stem cells so that it can help us to stay younger and to age even better. All right. So with this, okay, Unimate helps to boost the effect of fasting, more efficient reduction of inflammation, and this is how it helps to go into the whole equation of helping us to preserve our age and to further reduce the effect of inflammation in our body. Okay, so this is how it all comes together as we look at how Feel Great can reduce oxidative stress, okay, antioxidant, how it can target many different parts of our body. It helps to protect our brain, insulin sensitivity, fat metabolism, weight control, and blood pressure, cholesterol as well. So this is how we can see how it can bring everything together and how we can further enhance our health that way. All right. So together with Feel Great and fasting, it is the most important and the most essential part, I would say, when it comes to anti-aging. Right? And anti-aging is not just about beauty, it's also about how our body and our cells become younger, how we can make them even more optimal, and how can we, even though our age could be 50, for example, but our cells can be maybe 30, all right, that we can help to make it younger and do not let it age so fast. And by addressing the root cause of sugar and inflammation, it can help us to achieve that kind of result. All right. So of course, in every session that we do, we need to know what we have learned today. All right. I know today is a bit, inflammation is a bit more of a sciencey kind of subject, but still it is very important in relation of this whole topic of anti-aging. Okay, so what is the bottom line that we have learned today? Number one, okay, many anti-aging approach today focus on the symptom. All right. When we look about why people go for certain treatments, is because they have pain or they have some kind of symptom, which is the inflammation part, but they don't address the sugar and metabolic aspect. This is the main thing that I want to emphasize today, that we have to educate people and we have to teach them, to tell them that, hey, actually sugar and metabolism is the most important part of aging if you want to be younger. It's not so much about managing the symptoms, but it's about addressing the root cause, which is sugar and metabolism. All right. In fact, it is the most important and it's the first thing that we should address first before going into other areas like boosting, our antioxidative levels, which is also important, but we should look into the sugar part first. Okay, because sugar worsens inflammation. And if we try to solve inflammation, but not the sugar, we are not solving the problem. Okay, so this is important. And after achieving good metabolic health, then this is where we can boost our antioxidant and reduce inflammation. And you can see even different results. And this is where you can really see the changes in the body. So feel great is the first step to anti-aging. All right. So with this, okay, this wraps up the series for anti-aging, and we have learned about how glycation affects our body. And next is how inflammation will further relate to that and cause even further, dysfunction to our body. So it's important to know that and how Feel Great can help us to solve both of these problems. Right. So it's great to know that. All right. Okay. So yeah, this is the last session for the last Zoom session for the year already. So thank you so much for attending part 2 of today's session. So I hope I'm being clear. All right. If there's any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. All right. Even a follow up through any part of my slides, you may feel free to ask that. Okay. So before we end, of course, we still have some amazing sessions coming along, but these are more physical sessions. All right. So this is Health 101, which is happening this Thursday. Yes. All right. We're gonna be talking about why health is important. And this is a great session for you to bring friends, or if you have anybody that you know that really have no concept about health. This is a great introductory topic to bring and lead them into this. And this is how we can also introduce them to great and to bring the awareness into them. All right. So we highly encourage you to bring, if you have any friends or especially new people, we do encourage you to bring them along to also have a look in our office. Okay. And next we have the last session of the year, which is Christmas time. So this will be a very special and unique celebration. Okay, so we are going to do things in a very different format. So we hope that you're going to bring friends along, because there will be all kinds of fun activities. But this is going to be a very different format, not just really training per se, but it's going to be a lot of testimonials, and you're going to have a very different activity happening. So please come, all right, if you're around the area at that time, and please bring your new friends along. Okay? Yeah. So with that, this is the end of today's session. So you can feel free to ask anything if you have any questions. All right. Then we will try to get into it. Okay. So well, okay, great. We have a number one question already here. Does chlorophyll help the stem cell? Well, I mean, if really doing chlorophyll itself can really increase our stem cell count, we're thinking like bottles and bottles of chlorophyll. All right. Okay. What chlorophyll does is that, of course, chlorophyll is a great antioxidant. All right. And it does have a function to neutralize our free radicals and so. But to what extent, in true that indirectly, it does improve the environment and lowers inflammation. But to what degree does it really increase our stem cell count? This thing is still, up for research. But I think indirectly it does help to a certain degree. Okay, we still don't have anything to really prove that it does, but it creates the environment to lower inflammation. So maybe to a certain degree it can help, but we can't say for sure like how much chlorophyll can increase how many number of stem cells. But yeah, it does have that kind of effect on our body. But if we were to ask me which would be more stronger, I would say Feel Great in that sense, because Feel Great have certain components like chlorogenic acid is a very powerful antioxidant. Okay. And with a combination of fiber, all right, because fiber, it lowers sugar in our body, and with a combination of fasting, and fasting especially activates autophagy. So with the combination of Feel Great practice and with our products, that I would say may, okay, create an environment that encourage even more stem cell count compared to just taking chlorophyll, right? So that would be my take. If you're talking about how to further, reduce inflammation and promote a healthy environment for stem cells, that would be it. Okay, so looks like everyone is very well endowed with this topic. Okay, very well informed. I'm surprised because actually stem cells is a bit of a more but it's not really complicated if you know how it works, right? So it's actually a very important part in our body. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email, all right, or anything you want to know more about this. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate your time with us here today. And with that, we will see you again, all right, next year. So with that, thank you very much and have a great night. Bye.